Hi, I'm Manda McKay. I'm a professional artist and I'm making these videos to help people become their most creative selves. For this video, I'm going to talk about becoming more creative and how you can enhance your creativity by turning down the noise. Now, this is a little bit different from unplugging. You've probably heard over and over that you ought to unplug and get out in nature, and so that you can kind of, come up with ideas, be more creative, and hear your own thoughts. And I definitely agree with that. If you can completely turn off any electronic devices and just go out in the woods for a while with maybe a notebook or something and come up with ideas for your creative projects, that's great. But in reality, how many people can do that? How many people live in the woods like I do and can just pop on out to the woods? Maybe you're in the middle of a city, or maybe you have a toddler and you just can't leave them unsupervised and just, go outside for a while. And maybe that toddler even insists on having whatever mind-numbing kids show they want to watch at the time. So then what do you do? Well, actually, the mind-numbing kid show is not necessarily going to get in the way of your creativity, because when it comes to these electronic devices and unplugging, in my opinion, not everything is equal. To me, the thing that's going to interfere the most with creativity is basically notifications or anything that would basically be wanting some kind of a response from you. And that would be the thing that you need to turn off. So if you keep, hearing that you're getting a text and then you want to see okay, was this something important? Do I need to answer this text? Or, emails, messages, whatever, that would be the thing that is going to interfere the most, because it's really hard to just kind of sit there passively with these constant noises going off, knowing that you are probably expected to do something. So this is what I was talking about with the kids' TV show and why that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is actually not that difficult to come up with creative ideas and be creative if you have something on, either a TV show or a movie, for example, that either you've seen it a bunch of times before and you don't have to pay close attention to it, or maybe you're just not invested in it because it's, like I said, some kids show that you don't really care about, but maybe your kid does. So if you have something like that, that's probably not going to interfere a whole lot. I think that people hear that they need to unplug and they think that they have to just have this complete digital silence. And like I said, if you can, that's great. But if you can't, then having something that you aren't having to feel like you've got to respond to or pay close attention to is not going to interfere very much. And in fact, I often come up with ideas in the evening. I've mentioned this before. I'll be sitting on the couch and there will be the TV on in the background, and it's not something that where I'm just like, oh my God, what happens next? I've never seen it before. It's something that perhaps I have watched a bunch of times, or it just isn't something I care that much about, and it's just kind of in the background and my mind will still wander instead of paying attention. And so that's what you really ultimately want, is to have it where any kind of electronic devices are not interfering with your mind's ability to just wander. If it keeps pulling you back by thinking that you have to check out what was this notification, you have to respond in some way, that's what's going to pull you out. And I mean, if you are really experienced at coming up with creative ideas and just, really already think of yourself as a very highly creative person, then you can still, then sure, I mean, it's still possible to not be too, to work through the noise and not have it interfere too much. But I mean, if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of practice being creative in your day-to-day life, or just coming up with ideas for, what you want to work on next in your hobby, for example, then those constant notifications are going to just completely throw you off, more than likely. But again, I want to emphasize, because people, I think when you hear unplug, that comes across as like an all or nothing kind of thing. And a lot of people just, I think, are so discouraged by that. They're like, well, I can't, I've got to have the TV on for my other family members, you know, whatever. So don't let that stop you. Like I said, just think of the degrees of how much your electronic devices can interfere, and can you just make it where you're not being interrupted all the time by notifications, and give yourself, you know, 15 or 20 minutes. And yeah, maybe there's a TV show on in the background, but you're sitting with your thoughts, and I think you will find that you are still perfectly able to be creative, as long as you're not feeling like you just have to respond to something and like there's expectations on you based on the noises that you're hearing coming from your devices. So I hope that this is useful for you. Let me know if in the comments, have you ever had this experience where you just can't focus because of the constant pinging, but maybe with something that's, you know, more passive, like a movie you've seen a bunch of times in the background, do you find that you're still able to be creative under those circumstances? Like I said, let me know in the comments, and I hope you found this useful, and thank you so much for watching.